From wanting to reduce his filming schedule on Yellowstone to potentially not showing up to shoot the final scenes of the show, here's the feud between Taylor Sheridan and Kevin Costner explained. Now, while the two weren't fans of each other for a while, things really got bad recently. It started with Costner not wanting to work on the show anymore. The star was out chasing his dreams and working on a new passion project he had lined up. It's called Horizon, and it's something he's been trying to get off the ground for decades at this point. But here's the thing, this isn't just one movie. It's an entire film series, which meant the star had to take time off from filming Yellowstone to commit to it. When you consider that Kevin was set to write, produce, direct, and star in these movies, it makes sense why he wanted to pack up his bags and head out of Yellowstone, because there was no way he was realistically doing both projects at the same time. Costner also tried to have his filming time on Season 5 Part 2 cut down to only 2 weeks. Now, I'm no showrunner, but even I can tell you that this isn't enough time to shoot all his scenes, especially when you consider that Kevin plays John Dutton, one of the show's central characters. So obviously, Sheridan wasn't having any of it. And to make matters worse, Kevin's attitude towards filming and showing up to work was beginning to negatively impact his castmates. Now, it turns out, Taylor was still willing to talk it out, to try and find some common ground between the two. After all, they have a long history together. The two have been working on Yellowstone for half a decade together, so there has to be some level of understanding there, right? How else could you stomach showing up to work every day? Taylor mentioned that the last time he talked to Kevin was months ago, when Costner first revealed his passion project to him. Since then, the star got into some heated arguments with the folks over at Paramount. And well, things have only gotten worse since then. The funny thing is, the showrunner was open to hearing Kevin out and trying to find some solution to this entire mess. Even now, he felt that if they could have a proper conversation over the phone, they may be able to settle their beef. But the problem is that instead of talking directly to each other, both parties got lawyers involved. And when that happens, you know that it becomes harder and harder to find the truth. Sheridan felt like everyone started lying to each other as soon as their legal teams entered the picture. And instead, it became a competition of who could look better in the eyes of the public and the media. Ironically, neither of these two has accomplished that, since they are both to blame for this feud escalating to this extent. Interestingly, even Costner's lawyers claimed that the rumors about him were false. Marty Singer, who represents several high-profile clients in Hollywood, mentioned that anyone saying that Costner only wanted to show up for 2 weeks of filming for Yellowstone Season 5 Part 2 is completely lying. According to him, the truth is that the star was still very much committed to the show. But this makes you wonder, why wasn't it being filmed if everyone was on board with it? Well, turns out Kevin's personal life may have something to do with it. The star recently announced that he's going to get divorced from his wife, Christine. Now, I'm guessing that this wasn't a complete shock to him, and there were issues at home that were starting to impact his commitment to Yellowstone. It's possible that because of his personal issues, Kevin's willingness to continue with the series went down even more, and that's why he felt like he needed to call it quits. Sheridan can't really control what goes on at Costner's home. As a showrunner, he needs to meet deadlines and make sure that the series gets made. So, despite Kevin's situation, he probably required that the star show up to film, which could have caused a greater rift in their relationship. Though, while their feud reached a boiling point, they've had reasons to hate each other for a while now. For instance, Kevin reportedly felt like he wasn't given any respect on the set of the show. Costner mentioned there were certain people involved in the production of Yellowstone that had God complexes. And it's obvious that he was referring to Sheridan with this comment. That's because the star once asked Taylor if some changes could be made to the direction his character was going in. And instead of considering what Costner had to say, Sheridan straight up told the guy to stick to acting, basically asking him to keep his mouth shut and just stick to whatever the script said. That's incredibly insulting when you consider that Kevin was an executive producer on the show as well, so it was his job to suggest changes like that. But it goes to show that their feud really has multiple sides, with both of them being an absolute nightmare to work with. in their own ways. Plus, there's the fact that Sheridan kept on creating more and more spin-offs for Yellowstone. It got to a point where he couldn't handle the situation himself and was unable to complete writing the scripts for season 5 of the main series in 2022, which is why filming had to be delayed in 2023. This is why there was a scheduling conflict for Kevin in the first place, since he was planning to complete Yellowstone last year, moving on to his Horizon film by now. So it would be wrong to entirely blame the star for the writer's inability to stick to their schedule. But Taylor denies ever making those insulting comments towards Kevin. In fact, the showrunner mentioned that he went above and beyond to meet Costner's demands for the show. Taylor recently revealed that back in season 2, Kevin didn't like how his character was turning into some sort of godfather-like figure, with him being involved in the deaths of innocent people. To Kevin, the appeal of John Dutton was always that he was a family man who stuck to his commitments and was unable to change with the times. The character wasn't meant to be perfect, but turning him into some cold-blooded killer wasn't the right move, according to the star. Sheridan disagreed, though, and felt that to keep the series interesting, adding that element of gray morality to John would have been super important. But they eventually stuck to the version of John that Kevin wanted to play, considering how big of a star he was. Though this makes it look like Kevin was always super demanding when it came to having creative control over the show. If he wanted to change the direction of his character, even as far back as season 2, it's likely that Kevin got in the way of the writers recently too. In fact, he's mentioned that he won't return to the Yellowstone finale if he isn't happy with John's conclusion. The star wants his character to be given a fitting end, and to make it happen, he's refusing to shoot his final scenes of the show. Obviously, you can't wrap up the series properly without John Dutton being there. But Sheridan's definitely gonna try. The showrunner said that even if Kevin doesn't show up, it likely won't impact the finale all that much, because the original ending for the show didn't involve John much in the first place. And the thing is, the ending was written without consulting Kevin. Sheridan even went as far as to say it didn't matter to him what Costner's ego thought about the finale. They're gonna go through with it regardless. But despite the showrunner's optimism, I don't think it'll feel right for the series to end without Kevin appearing at least in a couple of scenes. It'll be a weird elephant in the room that none of the characters want to talk about. That's assuming they don't just kill John off screen to avoid addressing his absence. Though Taylor did say that he doesn't really kill off his characters like that. So maybe they've got something else planned for old John. Either way, Yellowstone's finale feels like it's doomed to fail. Unless, of course, these two can squash their beef and work together. Even if it's for just a moment, Kevin's recent updates on Instagram make it clear that he's still busy filming Horizon. And with his divorce proceedings underway, who knows if he'll have the time to show up for Yellowstone. So there you have it, folks. From potentially not showing up to shoot the final scenes of the show, to wanting to reduce his filming schedule on Yellowstone. That's the feud between Taylor Sheridan and Kevin Costner explained.